Hey everybody, welcome back. This is the fourth exclusive video for Patreon that I've done so far. These are designed to just give you a little bit more access to what I'm doing and hopefully calibrate it to something that you're interested in, that you want to see. Before we get started, I just have to say a heartfelt thank you. Last year, I decided to try to do this thing that I love for a living. And the thing that I love to do, the industry that I have here, is my style of teaching, my knowledge around guitar and music theory, and applying that to guitarists and moving them forward and trying to inspire and get folks seeing this instrument the way it was designed and having those aha moments. Like that is, I feel like that's why I'm here. And so I chose Patreon as the platform to prove out this as a concept, and it's working, and it's all due to your pledges here. So I don't think I could ever adequately express my gratitude. So thank you very much, and I very much appreciate the opportunity that I have to do this for a living. Okay, so the video, this is also, I just want to say, like, these videos are going to be a little less polished, a little more intimate, so I might make some mistakes, but just, hey, if anybody can forgive me, it'll be you folks. So I also want to just thank some folks who participated in the thread and the post about this video's content. And that's Jake, Dave, Dan, Christopher, Mark, David, Scott, Benjamin, Mel, Alan, Charles, Lewis, Fernando, John, Robert, Boomer, and Ian. I really appreciate you getting in there, putting down topics, upvoting other topics. It helps me calibrate these videos for you and hopefully hit the mark and sort of get subjects covered that everyone's looking for help on. I'm going to cover two subjects today. The first one is going to be how to play with other musicians, and I'm talking about polyphonic musicians, guitar players or keyboard players, players who are playing polyphonic rhythmic information, and how to fit in there. Marla came up with this. This was on the topic chase for the third video we did, and I didn't quite get to it. And it was upvoted by Damien, and Damien's working on getting into sort of a live environment, like going to open mics and trying to find out how to fit in with musicians that you may have never played with before. So thank you to Marla and Damien for that subject. The other one I'm going to hit was in the thread for this video by Darren, who said is looking for ways to synchronize solos to change chord changes. And I've done a lot of information on that. I've put videos out about target notes, but in this video I'm going to dive a little bit deeper and show you a few other things that I do. Target notes are the big thing, right? Making sure you target the notes that are in the chords that are coming. But there's a couple of other techniques that I haven't really covered on the channel yet that I'll provide you some insight into what my thought process is on those. Okay, so we're going to zoom in here and I'll get started. Okay, our first subject is again from Marla and Damien about playing with other rhythm instruments. So playing guitar with another guitarist, playing guitar with a keyboard player. How do you get in and out of, how do you develop rhythm parts when you're with someone else? They're taking up a lot of space. So before we get started, there's just four things that I keep in mind. Now, at this point, I don't think about these in great detail, but I boiled these down and I sort of figured out, here are the four things that you really have to keep track of. The first thing, the skill that you must now really develop before anything else, is listening to what the other player is doing. And what you want to do with that information is make sure you can analyze what's coming in and then become the second guitar player or the second instrumentalist, because you can't rely on someone else to be better at this than you are. So you have to take the high ground and just say, I'm going to listen to what that other person is doing and I'm going to stay out of their way, right? You're going to be that player. Meanwhile, when you get in a band or in a situation where someone else is doing that, it's extremely pleasurable. So give that experience to the other person first, and be the person who gets out of the way and provides support in a different way. Listening and communicating. Like if you've been playing with these folks for a while, you can easily say, hey, could you just back off on that one part? Because there's not enough space for me over here. If you've been playing with people for a long time, you can have those types of conversations. But listening is the primary tool. Okay, and then when you do listen and you're analyzing, here's what you're looking for. You're looking for four more things. One is pitch range. What am I hearing? In the example we're going to do right now, the guitar player secretly me. The guitar player is going to be playing these bar chords, A to D. So you want to notice that. You want to look across the room, maybe look at their neck, or you want to listen and say, where is that? Whatever you do, unless you're intentionally playing the same exact thing, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend all the time, is not play here. Whatever you do, don't play those two chords. That's number one. Pitch range. Where is this person in pitch, and then how do I get out of their way? Number two, time, space and time. So as the bars go by, are there any holes? Are there any gaps in what they're doing that you can target to play something in, right? Where are the gaps in the rhythm? Space and time. Where are those spots? You're listening for that. Third thing you're listening to is note values. Is this a frenetic part? Does it have a lot of information? If so, do I want to provide less information? Or if it's got enough room and it's not too busy, do I want to get even busier and play something even more sort of rhythmically, with more rhythmic information? And then finally, pay attention to the density of the harmonic structure overall. How much am I adding to the density? Is it appropriate? Is it too much? Be sensitive to that. And sometimes, and I do this all the time, sometimes I stop playing. In the right moment, like, when we go back to the verse, I'm not going to play in the first half of the verse at all. I'm just going to stand there and look good because there's enough information going on. And when I add that information in, it's going to naturally build the harmonic structure, and it's going to build the harmonic landscape and create some more tension and more information. So sometimes not playing at all is the decision, and I do make that decision quite a bit. Okay, let me get started. So here's our guitar player. This person is going to be basically playing. The band is playing a 1/4 in the key of A. So we're going to get our guitar player to start playing that. And what do? Now we're the second guitar player in the room, or maybe that's a keyboard player. It doesn't matter. This is the part we have to respond to. I'm not going to play these chords. I'm not going to play this, and I'm not going to play this, because that sonic space is already taken up. So I'm going to move up the neck. I'm just going to grab these two triads. Here's A and D. Right? Now if I want to try to add to the rhythmic density here, listen to this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. This is an eighth note phrase. If I want to try to find something in there, I have to be really careful. Right? I'm just finding that little moment in time where I can throw down a thing. I can't do that, because that's what the guitar player is doing. I have to do the opposite. I have to go like this. Right? Fill that little hole. Meanwhile, that's getting a little rhythmically dense, right? So here's the next idea. Maybe what I want to do is say something a little more with longer note values. So I'm going to take those same triads, but I'm going to do something that doesn't have this energy in it at all, right? Here we go. Also, dividing this up into, now it's starting to sound like an 8-bar phrase. Here it is again. 3, 4. Maybe I'll change it up here. Add a little lick at the end. Now I can let some time go by. Longer note values. Go up an inversion. Right? So now I've made a part that has longer note values, suggesting an 8-bar phrase, right? So So now I'm in control. So now this other guitar part, which I'm going to turn down with my toe right now, the other guitar part is actually backing me up. They're playing a 2-bar phrase with an 8th note sort of thing. Now I'm playing something that spreads it out, turns it into more of an 8-bar phrase, and has longer note values. Okay. Now I'm going to think to myself, well, if this is an 8-bar phrase, if this is an 8th note phrase, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2, that's the sort of sonic, like rhythmic area that's being taken up. I can go up and make even more complex rhythmic choices with 16th notes, which are right? I'm going to choose a single note. Here's A. It's the root of the first chord, and it's the 5th. It's the root of the first here, and it's the 5th of the D. If that sounds good, maybe I'll sort of So you get the idea there. Going up to 16th notes, adding more information. Now, if that's all too much and the singer's like, hey, that's getting a little too busy, maybe you want to go back to that sort of longer note values. But there it is. Some ideas, again, about how to stay out of the way. And the big one, the very big one, is listen to what the other person is doing and make yourself become second fiddle. Those are the people. You become the type of people that other people want to play with when you get out of the way and you create something that's unique and sort of takes up some different space. Okay, the second subject here is soloing over changes. Now, I'm going to use a very simple change, the change we just heard, but I want to relay something, and that is no matter how complex or simple the chord progression is, the task is exactly the same. You have to target the right notes, and you have to play something that feels good, that's interesting. That second one is a bit of a vague concept, and that skill takes time and subtlety to develop. But that first one, which is the primary fabric of playing over changes, is what are the chords and what are the notes that make sense. So I'm going to start with that, but just know that if you've got a chord progression that has 2 chords in it, like the one we're going to work on, that's going to be a lot easier than if you have a chord progression that has 10 chords, but the task is exactly the same. Okay, so here's our rhythm guitar player. Wow, they're really good. The chord progression is A to D. I'm just going to show you how I would drill triads to start developing an idea for a guitar solo. Here's just the drill. I would just go like this. A to D. Same thing. All right, now, pretty easy, right? I'm just using the triads on a single string set, my favorite string set, and I'm just messing around with it. Now, the very next thing you want to do is do the same exact thing, but play less notes, and just see where that takes you. liberties here. I'm adding some notes. I'm using passing tones like this. I did that once, and on the way down, I think I remember doing this. I know my A is right there. That's a function, a thing I have in my library. Just bending that major second down to the root. So I can add that in whenever I want to. Here it is. Okay, so that brings me to the next point, which is just play sufficiently. Just play something that works. Don't worry about doing too much, knowing too much, having to figure out a bunch of stuff. Here's an example of me just playing the A note, right? And just using that and creating a lot of space to see if I can hear what should be played next. I'm just going to start on the A note and see where it takes me. Just the A note. Add another note. So simple, right? D, there's that D triad. So I'm not outside of the changes, but I'm also not outlining them. And I'm using a lot of space to see what my ears hear next. So when I go like this, listen to all this room. If I do it again, I might add something to it, right? And then just cap it off with something. Play a phrase, repeat the phrase, change it up a little bit, and then cap it off. I'm going to do the whole thing again. I'm going to start nice and low in those triads, and I'm going to use those two ideas. Triads, target notes, and then making some room and space and listening to what I'm playing to see what I should play next. Start out like this. Pentatonic for a minute. Back to the other phrase. Notice how when I hit those pentatonic licks, it's really refreshing because I've been holding back. I've been holding on to that tension for so long. I made a couple mistakes in there, please forgive me. But if you think about what I'm doing here, I'm creating enough space to build enough tension so that when I release it and I do something tricky, it really is worth hearing. So here, just listen to this. I'll show you when I would play a pentatonic lick. Anyway, you get the idea. Creating that tension, creating that space, building up a lot of potential so that when you throw down that pentatonic lick, it actually makes sense. And people really, really want to hear it because you've given them a lot of space to wait for it. And you've created a lot of tension by not playing, and then you've released that tension by playing something that's got a little more verve to it, a little more excitement. Okay, there's a couple of things. Playing with other musicians and soloing over changes, right? Just trying to dive in a little bit deeper and give you some tips and insight into how I deal with those things. I hope this has been helpful. These videos are designed for you specifically. When I post about the next video, I really urge you to give me feedback about how to do it. I may post a poll or a form to fill out. I'm going to try some new things, some different stuff. Give me some feedback about what's working and what isn't working so that these videos specifically bring you a lot of value, that you feel like you're getting something out of these that's a little more sort of under the covers, a little bit deeper analysis of what I'm doing here on the channel. Okay, again, can't thank you enough for your support here. It really does fuel everything I'm doing. And I'm happy to turn this into a business with your help, and hopeful that I can inspire you as well as many guitar players as I can get a hold of their ears and eyes. So thanks again for making this all possible. I appreciate it.